So we're mostly looking at volume and surface area. Volume is how much a thing can hold. Surface area is all the area on the outside. Volume would be how many stuffed animals can I get in my bedroom. Surface area would be how much paint it would take to paint the walls of my bedroom. Does that make sense? So volume is about what it can hold. Surface area is about all the area around it. So let's look at some terminology. There's only 13 this week, which will make some of you happier. So the number of square units needed to cover a given surface is called the area. Area is always given in square units, so it could be feet squared, or inches squared, or yards squared, but it's always got that square up there. Because it is 2 dimensions, like length times width. Does that make sense? Trayson, you with me? Okay, we'll sit down and focus on this. So a side of a polygon, or the face of a 3-dimensional figure by which the figure is measured, is called the base. So we're gonna do 3D images. Let's see if I can do a 3D image. We're gonna do 3D images. And the base, generally speaking, is the area at the bottom that it's sitting on. That's the base, with a couple of exceptions. So if we do a cylinder, the base is always the circle. If we do a triangular prism, the base is always the triangular side. Does that make sense? So the base is important, and we're going to denote base or area of base with a big B. With a big B. That's going to tell us the area of the base. That's big B. I'll give you a moment. Don't let me pass you up, so if you're still drawing or writing and I attempt to go on, just say, wait a moment, please. Do you like my lovely drawings?
I can't even draw those.
You can.
I can't if I really.
You'll get some practice here. All right. Let's look at this one. The distance around a circle is called the circumference. And we talk about a circle. You've got a circle. If you look at it, if we draw a circle but we don't quite complete it, it says C, right? So there's my circumference. It's a C. It's that area around the circle. Circumference is like running a lap. You run around the circle. So instead of saying I'm taking laps, just say I'm going on the circumference. A cone is a 3-dimensional figure that has one vertex, that's where it comes together at the top, and one circular base. So it's got a vertex and a circular base. Think about cones in life, things like funnels. Volcanoes are cones. They go boom. Trying to think of another cone. An ice cream cone, where they have the good triangle. We all like cones when they're big, because they hold a lot more ice cream, right?
Yeah, just not the ones off the road.
All right. So a 3-dimensional figure that has 2 congruent bases that lie on parallel planes. Congruent circular bases is what I drew up here, a cylinder. Two congruent circular bases, that's these right here, that lie in parallel planes, meaning they're exactly flat. And I'll get them out in a moment, I have a bunch of shapes and stuff we get to play with. Oh yes, it's more fun. What? Just having fun? I see people writing, so I'm good. Okay, so a line segment that passes through the center of a circle and has endpoints on the circle. So I've got this circle, and I've got a center of the circle, and I've got a line that goes right through it and lands on both sides. That's called the diameter. Now, think about this. If you're running laps, would you rather run the diameter or the circumference? Why?
Because it's just straight across instead of all
And it's shorter, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah, I read that.
We're going to get to radius, and that's even shorter. So what's a flat surface of a polygon called? It's called a side. And it can be any surface of that polygon. Let's see if I can do it again. It can be a side. The distance around a polygon is the perimeter. I knew I got that one wrong. So the distance around a polygon, if I have a rectangle, the distance all the way around the rectangle is called the perimeter. And I messed up this one. I knew I did. Okay, it is called a side, but we more generally call it the face. I apologize. So a polygon can have multiple faces if it's a three-dimensional figure. A cube has how many faces? Think of a die. How many faces does it have? 6. So it has 6 faces. One of those we get to call the base, whichever one's on the bottom. So running the perimeter is no fun, by the way. It's a long way to go. So a polyhedron that has 2 congruent polygon-shaped bases and the other faces are all parallelograms. It is a prism. And what we're talking about here is so it has 2 congruent polygon shapes. What does congruent mean? Same. Equal is okay, same is better. So 2 of these, and that's these, the bases here are the same. And then it's got a bunch of parallelograms. What's a parallelogram? It has 2 pairs of parallel sides. It can be slanted, it can be a rectangular parallelogram, but you can get all kinds of fancy. Everyone good so far? So a line segment with one endpoint at the center of the circle and the other endpoint on the circle. So just like before, we've got a circle, we've got a center point. This one's called a radius. And the radius, which is written as r, equals 1/2 the diameter, which is d. So 2 radiuses is a diameter. So if you get the radius, you multiply it by 2. Well, let's look up here at diameter. diameter equals 2 times the radius. So if they give you diameter and you need the radius, all you got to do is divide by 2. If they give you the radius and you need the diameter, what would you do?
You
Multiply by 2. Bless you. A polyhedron whose bases are rectangles and other faces are parallelograms. It is called a rectangular prism. I can't spell. A rectangular prism. And we've been drawing a lot of those. 2 bases that are congruent. And the other faces are all parallelograms. A rectangular prism. How's your art coming along? Oh, you got to say it's awesome. Remember, art is in the eye of the beholder. All right, number 12. A three-dimensional figure with all points the same distance from the center. It's called a sphere. It is a round shape, and from the center of that sphere everywhere, and how I'm going to indicate this is just kind of shaded off. From that center point, it's the same distance to all sides. We don't call it a sphere. What do we commonly call it? A ball. Does that make sense? It's a ball. We throw it at each other. Hopefully not bowling balls, but generally we throw balls, right? And there's spheres. So that's a sphere.
I messed up.
That's right. Go back and fix it.
I put the words in the wrong spaces.
You'll just have, if you're using pencil, it's easy to fix.
Yeah.
So the last one's a polyhedron whose bases are triangles and whose other faces are parallelograms. We've seen this before, right? I've got bases that are triangles and then sides that are parallelograms. What have I got? What is this? What is this shape right here?
The triangle.
A triangle. This is a triangular, somebody said it,
Triangular prism.
prism.
Yeah.
We're going to do a lot of this where we determine the base. Remember, in the case of a rectangular prism, the base is whatever side is on the bottom. Does that make sense? What letter indicates base?
B. Big B.
Big B is area of the base. In another prism or a cylinder, the base is what makes it a cylinder. So in the cylinder case, it's the circle. In the triangular prism case, it's the triangle. Does that make sense? That'll probably be the hardest thing to determine is what is the base. Does a sphere have a base? Does a ball have a base? Not unless it's a really bad ball. It's got a worn out spot. Questions on vocabulary?
Can you leave it up there for a sec?
Yep.
I did it. I drew it.
Very good.
I didn't. I look like trash.
Does it, remember, a model, which is what you're drawing, is something you use to help you understand. Did your model work that for you? Then it's perfect. The model doesn't have to be beautiful to other people. You just have to understand. Travis, I'll loan you mine.